Video, Purple Political Talk here, and today we're going to be analyzing some polls that just came out, and there's 3 crucial battleground states where Donald Trump is now leading in polling data, and he's on average leading, and he's started to gain a lot of support in these areas. We're going to look at this in today's video, and we're going to analyze what this means for the 2020 presidential election. So before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified when I post my next video. So let's get started. So there's 3 states that I'm going to talk about that Trump is not massively leading, but however, the lead is very significant considering how much Biden was leading by. And then also we're going to talk about one state where Biden is overperforming expectations when it comes to polling data. So our first state is the state of North Carolina, and just today, I think it was, or yesterday, President Trump took the lead from Joe Biden. Joe Biden was leading just like a couple weeks ago, so maybe like 10 days ago, he was leading by a total of 5% in the state of North Carolina. That was his peak, at least until September of last year, where Biden was leading by 7. However, the president over the last 5 days, I would say, he has started to gain his lead. He tied with him on August 12th, and on August 13th, he took over where Joe Biden's lead, and now the president's leading North Carolina. So the recent polling, an MSR poll had +2 for Trump. A Sikvis and Harper poll had Biden +1. CNBC had Trump +1. Rasmussen has Trump +1. So it's going to be a tight race at this point, and that's why they have it at such a small margin. However, I will say the following. At this point in time, North Carolina, it's surprising that Trump is leading. I think that Biden's going to shoot up in the polls in the next couple of days for a couple reasons. One, the VP announcement, that still hasn't hit effect yet. And also, the convention boost is going to be a big thing for Biden. However, once all that is evened out, who knows what can happen. But in the state of North Carolina, very interesting, at this point, that Donald Trump's actually leading. And, his lead could be attributed to many different things. Whether it be just more excitement for the Trump campaign or more excitement for Republicans in North Carolina, who knows? But so is North Carolina completely out of the books for Biden? Absolutely not. It's only a 0.7% lead, well within the margin of error. However, I think at this point, Trump is leading, but then things are going to start evening where a lot of people were freaking out about. There was like a week or like a certain period of time where Biden led, at least in a couple polls, consistently, and he was ahead in the averages. Real Clear Politics, they never put him ahead, but 538 did. However, for a while, it was like tied for a couple days, so that was like mid-July. And then it ended up being that the polls were consistent, so I think since mid-July, correct, there aren't any polls to factor in. However, a recent Gillibrand poll shows Trump ahead by 6 points, which shot up his lead from roughly nothing, so like maybe 0.2%, shot it up all the way to +2% for Trump, which is pretty good for him at this time, where he was leading maybe by 0.2%, which is nothing, it's razor thin. Trump is looking like he's going to get a little bit better in Texas. However, Biden still does have a big chance of winning there. But is it astronomical? Maybe not. But, just with recent polling that we're seeing, Klobuchar had Trump +6, Quinnipiac had Biden +1, CBS had Trump +1, Owen and Gravis had Trump +2. So that's just that Trump is leading consistently, and those things can definitely change and very quickly. So this is a very interesting state, at least to see, because I think at this point in time, the state of Texas is a state where a lot of people are a little skeptical of where it's going, and I think this poll just gives some little bit more assurance that Trump does still have his support there, although Biden could get close. And I think this really just helps out the president. He's coming back, so maybe this is also a very big it's significant when thinking about best case scenarios. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were looking at Biden's his peak best case scenario, and we can see that in these polls. Here. This was more like mid-July or early August. We saw Biden peak in North Carolina. And here it was more near he peaked, I guess, in early August, mid-July. So that kind of shows us that he was at a point where he was almost at a best case scenario, but those things have currently changed. So that's the state of North Carolina. Trump is leading in polls there. the state of Texas, my bad. Now, the last state we're going to analyze that's actually going for Trump at this point, according to these polling numbers, and they're ahead, is the state of Georgia. So this is a state where there's a lot of African Americans, there's big minorities, all these different things. Biden was he was doing pretty good in the polls. He was leading in some, but Trump was leading in most. The most recent poll have Biden ahead by 2 times, but then polls taken on the same day have also Trump ahead. Right now, the polling averages have Trump +1, and there was a lengthy period of time where Biden was leading in the state of Georgia. So I mean, this is good for Trump and his campaign. However, looking at how the 2 most recent polls are looking, not the best thing for Trump. However, I mean, he is leading, and I think that's what Trump needs at this point. I mean, there is a period of time where Biden was killing Trump in a lot of these states, whether it was in Texas, I mean, relatively to what he did in 2016, whether it was in Florida, which we're going to talk about next. All these different things are not showing good results for Trump, or at least they were not. So, right now, the last state we're going to talk about is the state of Florida. So, this graph shows how this election in Florida has gone. And look, at this point in time, Biden is so massively outperforming. A lot of people expected Trump to win here, maybe a couple months ago. I mean, and he was leading in polls for quite a while. But I mean, since then, Biden just skyrocketed in Florida. His peak lead was a couple weeks ago, like mid-July, of 8.4% lead. That's well into the likely margin, which again, it's pretty insane considering somewhat how conservative Florida is. However, I mean, Trump has shut up in some of the polls, and the lead's only +4%, which, is it amazing? Probably not, but still, it's some good numbers. But recent poll shows Biden had +5 on average, +6, +4, +5. Very good numbers and very strong numbers for Biden at this point. And this is a state where Biden is definitely outperforming, where a lot of people are thinking he might actually have gotten. I mean, at this point in time, looking very good for Biden. However, these 3 states, some of these races, like Biden's gaffes, and stuff like that, but I think we're going to see it coming up. So overall, these polls numbers, at least in North Carolina, in Texas, and Georgia, very strong for Trump, or at least stronger from where he was before. However, I mean, not looking too good for Trump in Florida. Again, things can definitely change. So yeah, I mean, that's what we have in these polls, and very interesting races. And we're going to keep an eye on this as we go on closer to election day. So, hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to get notified when I post my next video. Hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.